Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 20 of my Road to 120 Slayer series. In this episode, we did get some more Slayer done. It has been a while since my previous episode, but we did get a big accomplishment in this episode and made a lot of progress. So anyway, we're going to jump right into it. So my first task that I ended up getting was 167 Soul Devourers. And I am really liking these tasks. I really want to stock up on those keys to the crossing because I'm going to want to do a lot of the Magister once I get to 115 Slayer. Currently I am at 114 Slayer, so we are really close and we'll probably get it in this episode. So anyway, while killing the Cello Axe, I used the same strat as usual. So I had the aggression potions on, and then I also used deflect from melee. And also didn't need the Scrimshaw of Vampirism, which is really nice because that does cost a lot of money to actually have that active. So overall, the task went pretty well. We made 662k in the keys to the crossing, and these are going to be going into my loot tab, and I think I'm going to be using these for the Magister, so it's nice to have a few more of those. And then also looking at the loot chest, we made 1.4 mil. And then for the task, around 84,000 Slayer XP, so it wasn't too much Slayer XP, but it was a pretty quick task, taking around 10 to 15 minutes to complete. So moving on to the next Slayer task, we got a Crystal Shapeshifter task, and this is one that I am really liking now that I got my player-owned Slayer dungeon set up. So we are going to be doing that task in my player-owned Slayer dungeon again. And I do have a pretty good setup for this. I do only have 3 Crystal Shapeshifters in here, but I find they do hit really hard, so 3 is a pretty good number I am finding. The nice thing about Crystal Shapeshifters, they are automatically aggressive, so you don't need to use aggression potions. This kind of saves up on some of those costs, which is really nice. We are also getting a lot of these Tardian Crystal Shards, so that is really great because I am going to be saving up for the attuned crystal outfit, and that will just make killing Crystal Shapeshifters much more effective. Currently, I only have 1 piece of the attuned crystal gear, so I am going to need a little bit more of that, and that will definitely help out in the DPS, and also it will reduce the damage I am taking, and obviously that will just really help. So anyway, from this task, we did get some pretty good loot. We made around 2.3 mil, and then you can also see we got 259 of those crystals. Those are worth around 2k each, although I will be using them to buy the attuned crystal gear. So overall, it was a really great task. Took around 20 minutes to complete and made around 2.5 mil, so not bad at all. The Slayer XP is also pretty good, so we got 155,000 Slayer XP. Overall, Crystal Shapeshifters is actually a really great task if you have them in your player-owned Slayer dungeon. They might even go on my preferred list, we'll see, but it is a pretty good task so far. And so moving on to our next task, we got 89 Kalgerion Demons. I don't do this task too often, but it is nice to have a different task every once in a while. So I don't have the Dark Light for the Kalgerion Demons. That is probably the best way to kill them because you get some increased DPS if you are using that. But I am just going to go ahead and use my Drygors. It is a little bit ineffective, I would find. They are a little bit difficult to kill. One thing that I did realize is that if you do put these in your player-owned Slayer dungeon, they don't have their special attacks, which actually deal a lot of damage. So I am probably going to try and add these to my player-owned Slayer dungeon so I can do this task whenever I get it. In this clip, I forgot to bring the Yushabis, but I did capture 1 soul throughout the task, which is pretty nice. I'm going to try and fill it up with around 3 or 4 of them, and that should be good. So I'll probably do these tasks in my player-owned Slayer dungeon once I get that set up. Overall, it is a pretty decent task. They do have some pretty solid drops, even a possible Onyx drop, which I did get in a previous episode, but it would be much better without their special attacks. So looking at the loot, we made around 2 mil and also 165,000 Slayer XP. This task did take quite a bit longer. It took around half an hour to 40 minutes to complete. So it is a little bit inefficient, but I'm sure if I do get them in the player-owned Slayer dungeon, it will be much faster. So next we got a Creature of the Lost Grove task. I haven't had one of these in a while, so I am pretty happy to get it. I did get a Cinderbane glove drop earlier in this series, so hopefully we do get one of those, or even an Ancient Elven Ritual Shard. That would be really nice to add to the Slayer loot tab. So as you can see, I went with the bulbous crawlers, and I am using the dual wield Drygores. So this is probably my preferred way of completing the Lost Grove creature task. Moss Golems are also really great, and you can even do a method using the Oldak Coil, and that should actually get you a ton of Slayer XP per hour. I think it's up to 1 mil XP per hour, but it is quite risky and very click intensive, so I probably won't be doing that. I'm perfectly fine with just doing the bulbous crawlers the way I usually do, so that is probably what I will be doing whenever I get these tasks. And so looking at the loot we got from this task, unfortunately we didn't get one of their unique drops, but we did make around 1.9 mil. Also the Slayer XP, it is pretty good. We got 273,000 Slayer XP, and that is probably the best part about this task if you don't get a unique. So moving on to another task, we got 74 Dinosaurs, so I am pretty happy about this task because they do give a ton of Slayer XP, and I am going to be going with the Brutish Dinosaurs. I'm also going to use the cannoning method because it is much faster, and I did find it worked really well. It wasn't very risky even, so it was a pretty good method overall. Sadly, I did notice that the Tomb Shroom Spores have dropped a ton since I last did this task. I think they're listed at 15k each, and I even remember earlier when I had probably 300 or 400 Tomb Shroom Spores in the bank, I could have sold them for around 100k each, and now they're probably selling for 15k each. So that is a big loss in the Slayer loot tab there. And so actually while completing this task, I ended up getting 115 Slayer, and you know what that means, guys. I have unlocked the Magister. So probably within the next few episodes, I will be doing a lot of that. I do have to learn the boss first, which might take a while. Hopefully it isn't too difficult to learn. And we're going to be doing a Soul Devourer task probably and getting a ton of Magister kills. So yeah, I am pretty excited for that. Also, during this task, we got a Brutish Dinosaur Egg. I did get one of these earlier in a previous episode, and I sold it for around 10 mil, so I'm super happy about that. The grand exchange price for it is about 6.9 mil, so that is really great. Gonna boost up the GP we made in this episode and definitely this task, so I'm really pleased about that drop right there. And looking at the total loot, as you can see, we made around 9.4 mil. The Dragon Egg taking up most of the money there, so that was a pretty clutch drop. And then we also got 229,000 Slayer XP. It was a pretty quick task also, probably took around half an hour or 40 minutes to complete. So moving on to the last Slayer task of this video, we got a Ganodermic Creatures task. Another task that I don't get too often. I do really like this task though because they are really easy to kill and you do make some pretty good money here. So I am going to be using magic. I actually went down first with melee, realized it didn't work at all. So I just quickly came back with mage. I guess you have to use mage against these. But anyway, the task went really well besides for the little screw up at the start. We did make a lot of money, so they do drop the Ganodermic Flakes pretty frequently, and you do make a lot of money off of those. And they drop these mushrooms as well, which are pretty pricey as well. So you do make some pretty good money off of these. There isn't really a unique drop, so that kind of takes a bit of excitement out of the Slayer task. But overall, it's a pretty good one. As you can see with the loot, we made around 2.2 mil. A lot of the money coming from the Ganodermic Flakes and also those mushrooms that I was talking about. We also got just a few other various drops which do add up as well. So 2.2 mil there and also 58,000 Slayer XP. And the task took around 20 minutes to complete, so it was a pretty quick task. Now, before I end this episode, I wanted to do a Reaper task. We ended up getting 10 General Grador for my Reaper. I decided to just go ahead and do it because, you know, the Reaper points, they are really great to get. General Grador, I haven't done this boss in a while. I actually have over 1k KC on it. I did it back when it was probably relevant. It's pretty unrelevant right now since Masterwork is out and Bandos is pretty trash armor. Unfortunately, in the 10 kills, we didn't manage to get a unique drop. So that kind of sucks because it would be pretty awesome if I did get that. And just looking at the drops that I did get, you can see that it barely covers the entrance fee to the boss. So it wasn't really great there, but the points, they are what you're really going for in the Reaper tasks. So that is really nice. And now moving on to the total loot tab. So looking at the loot tab, it looks absolutely amazing. We made around 20.2 mil this episode, which totals out to an estimated 539 mil total. And that is a big estimate now because, as I said earlier, Tomb Shroom Spores have dropped. So that was a big loss in the total loot tab. But also a lot of these items, they have fluctuated in price. So hopefully it does kind of counteract that big loss there. I know that the Cinderbane gloves, they have increased by at least 10 mil since I got the drop. Also, the Blast Diffusion boots, they actually dropped by about 10 mil since I got them. So lost quite a bit of money there as well. But still, it is going to be pretty sick to have this loot tab when I do complete 120 Slayer. And then I'll just sell it off for hopefully over 1 bill. So that is pretty exciting. And as you can see, for the Slayer XP, we made nearly 1 million Slayer XP this episode for a total of 25.8 mil. We are now 115 Slayers, so we can do the Magister, so definitely look out for that in the next few episodes. I'm planning on doing probably an entire episode on the Magister if I do learn it pretty quickly and I enjoy it. That is definitely what I am going to be doing. So anyway, guys, I really hope you did enjoy the video, and if you did, hit that thumbs up button, and also subscribe for more RuneScape 3 content. I really hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.